Okay, well, I'm really excited. We've had a great event so far today. I've learned a lot listening into some of those sessions. I think it's been a very successful event so far this year. Now we're getting into our big gala part, which is announcing the Canadian Project Manager of the Year, the Canadian Young Project Manager of the Year, and the finalists and winners of the Canadian Project of the Year. And I'm really delighted. We've got some really interesting projects on the Project of the Year side. So let me talk about the Project Manager of the Year awards first. Okay. These Project Manager of the Year awards started in 2020. We did them in 2020. We didn't have an event in 2021. This is the second time we've been doing them. We designed it after the Australian model from the AIPM, the Australian Institute of Project Management. They're the IPMA affiliate in Australia. And we expanded it this year with more categories that people could apply in. How this works is we have judges, right? The judges are selected by our awards committee. We use a double-blind approach. So the judges have no idea which company names are being assigned to these projects. I mean, they could probably research it and find it out, but we've stripped out the names of the companies and the organizations. What we do is we give them details of the activities, the accomplishments of the project manager. We give them some details of their work history, some of their experiences, etc. But and what was said by the nominator, right? So that people get nominated. So what was said by the nominator about their performance, but we strip out as much as we can any identifying information. It's hard to completely remove it because some people's accomplishments are so unique. Maybe they've done something amazing with a particular project. You could probably Google it and find out, but we try hard to mask the names of the individuals. And also, the nominees never find out who the judges are either. So we keep it double blind, right? It's a completely anonymous process as best as we can make it. Each judge rates each application on a number of criteria, and we combine the scores and calculate the totals across each category to determine the winners. So let's talk about the 2022 Canadian Young Project Manager of the Year. This is sponsored in partnership with IPMA Young Crew. Now, for the young PMs, we have some criteria. First of all, this is designed, the young PM criteria are set by IPMA because this feeds into the international awards, as Michelina said in her presentation earlier about Young Crew, right? So the winner of the Young PM Awards in Canada can go on to the international competition. So we're following the IPMA criteria for this. So it's intended for people to start their PM careers, people who are 35 years of age or under. I know that's kind of odd in Canada to have an age restriction or something because we typically try not to, discriminate based on age, but this is an international criterion. So 35 or under is how we define young. They must be the one who is leading the project, recognized as one of the leaders of the project or a significant piece of the project. And they need to be somebody who absolutely contributed to project success. Unfortunately, in 2022, I did not get enough applicants coming in to make a decent competition. We don't want to be in a position where we award this because there was one applicant, they automatically win. That waters down the value of the award. Even if that person turned out to be good, it would feel wrong that there wasn't a proper competition here. So what we did, many of the categories, we only had one applicant. We didn't have enough to make a decent competition. So what we did was we decided to defer this till next year. So we're not going to award a Canadian Young Project Manager of the Year. It wasn't a competitive event. There was not enough applications to make a viable competition. However, in March, we're going to open up the 2023 applications and people can apply again at that time. Now, I'm just going to show you what the application form looks like so people can see. This is the one for the Project Manager of the Year. The Young Project Manager Year one is the same. It just asks for their age, right? Other than that. And in this case, we asked for some contact information. We asked what about their educational background and qualifications, a little write-up on their experience, just a paragraph about the person's experience. Where's my second page? And then what we do is we ask them to choose a category, right? We have competitions in many different categories. Community service or community development, right? So these are projects that bring civic leaders, activists, involved citizens, professionals together to build stronger and more resilient local communities, right? So typically a lot of nonprofit or charitable stuff falls in that area. Construction or engineering projects, right? So projects that'll design or build facilities. Government projects that could be in other categories, right? They could be in another category as well, or just this category sponsored by some government level of government, from municipal right up to federal. Indigenous projects, right? They could be in other categories, but these are also projects where it run by an Indigenous project manager for maybe an Indigenous group or an Indigenous-owned business. It has to have an Indigenous element to it, and that could put it in this category. We have a category around IT projects, organizational change projects, projects that are specifically around a PMO activity. So establishing or improving the practice of project management within an organization. One for professional services organizations. So organizations that provide expert advice or guidance on research, consulting, specialized work, right? That doesn't really fit in any other category. We had a section for small projects, right? So small projects. And lastly, we had one on sustainable projects, projects focused on sustainability elements, environmentalism, things like that. So we had a number of different categories. So they just had to check off one of those. And maybe the most important part of the form is the nominator must fill in why they think this person deserves to be recognized as one of the top project managers in Canada. Fill in, like, write us a letter, tell us why you think that person deserves it. And then there's some contact information for the nominator so that we could contact them if we need more information. And before you ask, yes, we do accept self-nominations, although those are not encouraged. We would prefer people to, to be nominated by somebody else. So that's the process. It's really simple. It's a simple little form. Fill it out, send it in. It's free to apply, doesn't cost anything. I'd like to see more nominations for the 2023 awards. Okay, the same problem with the regular non-young person awards. This is for people in the midst of their careers. They got to be the leaders. They got to be key contributors. And also you have to have give back. We're expecting some give back to the profession. You've mentored others. You've written articles or books. You give presentations to various PM chapters or communities of practice. There must be some kind of give back going on. And again, we have the same problem. Not enough people applied to make it a competitive process. So we've deferred our Canadian PM of the Year. And that was our challenge this year with the Canadian of the PM of the Year awards. We wish we could have run them, just couldn't make a viable go of it this time around. Any comments or questions about that before I move on to the project of the year, which we did have applications for, and I think that's going to be a much more interesting discussion. Any thoughts, comments, questions about the PM of the Year awards?